Agreement. North Korea has nearly finished developing its nuclear arsenal despite ongoing economic sanctions. They also announced that they would legalize the use of their nuclear weapons to launch nuclear attacks and are now planning more nuclear tests. Because of this, some contend that South Korea must have nuclear weapons of its own. The following concepts form the basis of the arguments. So, first of all, only nuclear weapons are capable of defeating nuclear weapons. Ironically, nuclear weapons help to prevent potential wars. Non-nuclear weapon states worry that they would suffer the outcomes if nuclear-armed states go into a war. Second, we can't totally believe the American nuclear umbrella. The nuclear umbrella is a guarantee by a nuclear weapons state to defend a non-nuclear allied state. The U.S. commits to keep its nuclear umbrella over South Korea. However, there is a question as to whether the U.S. would launch a nuclear attack when South Korea is actually attacked by North Korea. Third, if South Korea has its own nuclear armaments, it can begin a denuclearization dialogue. North Korea strives not to begin a denuclearization dialogue with South Korea since it doesn't have its own nuclear armaments. However, if it becomes armed with nuclear weapons, it may begin the negotiations on the denuclearization of North Korea. Disagreement. It is true that North Korea is close to developing nuclear weapons, and the North's nuclear threat is becoming more grave. However, we shouldn't just impulsively and hurriedly assert that we require our own nuclear arsenal. First, since South Korea isn't armed with nuclear weapons, it can continue dialogue on the denuclearization of North Korea. In December 1991, two Koreas made a joint declaration of the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which is the only foundation for demanding the denuclearization of North Korea. At that time, U.S. forces Korea's USFK tactical weapons were withdrawn. If South Korea abandons this declaration and launches its nuclear armaments, North Korea ends up further strengthening its nuclear arsenal. Second, the alliance with the U.S. can be broken. The U.S. opposes the nuclear weapons program of countries around the world. If South Korea decides to be armed with nuclear weapons, the U.S. would develop a negative perception of South Korea, breaking the alliance between Korea and the U.S. Previously, the U.S. strongly opposed South Korea's attempts to develop nuclear weapons. Third, South Korea may take a serious hit due to strong economic sanctions. Ultimately, if South Korea is armed with nuclear weapons, the country would end up being isolated from the international community in a diplomatic and economic manner. In particular, the export-reliant country may face an economic crisis.